Good evening, Sal. Hello, Will, and everyone. I see you soon. Hope you have a great Christmas. I had an excellent Christmas. Thank you very much, Sal. Good evening, Interpeas. Welcome to tonight's trivia to both of you. Glad you could be here with us tonight. Hope everyone had an excellent Christmas or started off Hanukkah. I'm sorry, but I'm not familiar when Kwanzaa started or Festivus. But happy holidays to everyone. Make sure you are on live chat, not all chat, live chat. At the top, you'll see an option, little bar. You can either click on or slide between live chat or top chat. Pippadot, good evening. Going to be quiet for tonight. Not feeling well. All right, Pippadot, I hope you start to feel better soon. Good evening, Gianna Marie. Welcome to tonight's trivia. Tonight, the subject matter is Ken McElroy. Ken McElroy, the bully of Skidmore, Missouri. This one was suggested a total of 8 times. And yes, Cement Shoes was one of those who suggested it. Callie Lisa, good evening. But it took a while to actually put together this trivia night. I've been working on it for probably about 3 months off and on. And the reason why it took so long is even though there are a lot of people who witnessed this actual murder, a lot of people still refuse to talk about it. And even all those who've written books about it have only based their book on the information that was released by law enforcement and by the district attorney, which was very, very little. And the rest of it just kind of talks about who he was as an individual. But people don't want to talk about him, even to this day. But Ken McElroy. Give it another minute here, and then we'll get the trivia going. Thumbs up for Will. Yes. If you enjoyed tonight's trivia, give it a thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber, I would hope that you would subscribe. So you can click that bell icon to be notified when the next trivia night is and when I put out videos. But if you like it, if you like this trivia, give it a thumbs up. If you don't, give it a thumbs down. Leave a comment. Tell me why you gave it a thumbs down. I can't improve this if I do not get feedback. All right, another 10 seconds in, we're going to get going. Actually, sorry. 16 seconds now. Had to look at the clock again. And good evening, Lemon Pie. All right, here we go. This is the 336th episode of Trivia Night. 336 episode. This program documents actual crimes and offenses by criminals. Some of the content covered here may not be suitable for all ages. Viewer discretion is advised. And Bobby Lehman, good evening and welcome to tonight's trivia. Bobby Lehman. Question number 1 is on your screen. What year was Ken McElroy shot and killed? Was it A, 1979, B, 1983, C, 1971, D, 1981, or E, other? What year was Ken McElroy, the bully of Skidmore, Missouri, shot and killed? Question number 1 of 20. Make sure you're on live chat again and not all chat or top chat. Live chat from the drop down menu. That way you can see the questions as and the answers that people are answering them as live. Inner Peas is going with 1999. Just like the Prince song. All right, the answer to question number 1. What year was Ken McElroy shot and killed? The answer is D, 1981. He was shot and killed. Question number 2. How many witnesses to the murder of Ken McElroy were there? Was it A, 20 to 29, B, 30 to 49, C, 10 to 19, D, 5 to 9, or E, other? How many witnesses were there to the murder of Ken McElroy? Summit Shoes, good evening. Woke up just in time. Lemon Pie is going, E, he got better. Inner Peace is going with 144,000. 144,000 from the Book of Revelations. A very important number to Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow. They believed that they were the chosen to lead those disciples to on the other side of the veil for the second coming of Christ, to lead the chosen ones. 144,000. And that's why JJ and Ty Lee and Tammy and everybody else had to die. Those that were good spirits would be good on the other side of the veil, and those who were evil would still be evil on the other side and wouldn't be with them. Good evening, Left-Handed RN, and welcome to tonight's trivia. All the questions tonight are on Ken McElroy, the bully of Skidmore, Missouri. E, it was televised. How many witnesses were there to the murder of Ken McElroy? Question number 2 of 20. The correct answer is B, as in boy. 30 to 49 people witnessed the cold-blooded murder in the middle of the afternoon of Ken McElroy. And you want to know how many of those people came forward and gave information to law enforcement? The answer is absolutely 0. People came forward and chose to speak with law enforcement. I forgot to put myself in my little window. Hello, Will in his little window. Question number 3. What violent crime was Ken McElroy convicted of shortly before the vigilante mob surrounded him and he was shot? Was it A, attempted murder of Bo Wincamp? Bo Wincamp. B, rape of Sally Mae. C, attempted murder of John Connor. D, attempted murder of Trina. Or E, other. What violent crime was Ken McElroy convicted of shortly before the vigilante mob surrounded him and he was shot? Did you guys hear that Jimmy Carter died today? He was 100 years old. No, I did not. Well, rest in peace, Jimmy Carter. A simple peanut farmer made it an awfully long way from peanuts. After he left the presidency, Jimmy Carter spent the rest of his life devoted to Habitat for Humanity and building homes for those who don't have them, fundraising for Habitat for Humanity and for Doctors Without Borders, and several other charities that I know of. But rest in peace, Jimmy Carter. Question number 3 of 20. Lemon Pie is going with E, showing Jersey Shore Marathon. Ooh, that's torture. All right. Question number 3. The correct answer is A. Sorry. I got something stuck in my throat. Excuse me. A. The attempted murder of Bo Wincamp. Bo Wincamp. Hopefully I'm not butchering that too much. Bo Wincamp, I think it is. Ween Camp. It's one of the two. But anyways, that's what he was convicted of shortly before he was actually shot and killed. Did you know? That should be Skidmore, Missouri. During the time Ken McElroy was walking the streets free, crime went up in some areas by over 30%. Then he was murdered and the crime wave dropped back to normal. That should be, again, this should read Skidmore, not Kidmore. Skidmore, Missouri. During the time that he was around, it wasn't just Ken McElroy who was the problem. He was like the ringleader of the problem. But he had a group of friends who were like-minded, just like him. But in some areas of Skidmore, the crime rate shot up by over 30% when he was out. Question number 4. What was Ken McElroy doing when he was shot and killed? Was it A, sitting in his car smoking a cigar? B, sitting in his truck smoking a cigarette? C, sitting on a park bench eating? Or D, drinking a beer? Or E, other? What was Ken McElroy doing when he was shot and killed? Ernest Bowenkamp was the man's name. Correct, cement shoes. He was reading one of Chad Daybell's books, says Inner Peace. Was he trying to kill himself? What was he doing with that book? And you can't see it really good, but that picture is his headstone. It is a simple brass plaque in the cemetery. Even to this day, he does not have an actual headstone, just a marker made out of brass. And good evening, Mel Stiller and friends. Good evening to you, Mel. Welcome to tonight's trivia. You read that he didn't die, just injured in the neck? Well, trust me when I say this, Sal. Ken McElroy is dead. Dead. Very dead. Very dead. I don't know about the injury to the neck, but he was shot several times. One of them may have been to the face and neck, but he was definitely shot and killed. All right, what was Ken McElroy doing when he was shot and killed? The correct answer is B as in boy. He was sitting in his truck smoking a cigarette when he was shot through the back window of the truck. The first bullet entered there. The second bullet went through the driver's window, and he got out of the vehicle and tried to flee, and then was shot again. And he died right there outside of his truck by probably about 4 feet from the truck. Very dead. All right, question number 5. According to the state police that investigated the murder of Ken McElroy, what type of firearm was used to kill him? Was it A small caliber pistol, B, an M16, that would be an assault rifle, or C, a hunting rifle, D, a bazooka, or E, other? What type of weapon was used to shoot and kill Ken McElroy? Don't they say that smoking kills? They do. Smoke him if you got him. Mr. Bowenkamp was shot in the neck but survived. Oh, you're talking about the grocer. Bowenkamp, yes, he survived. Ken McElroy was charged and convicted of attempted murder and aggravated assault. Silly string. Ooh. Every time I think of silly string, I only think of one person. Will, did you get the poem that I emailed you? It depends on when you mailed it to me, Mel. If you sent me another one, I probably did. I just haven't checked my email in the last 2 days. I've been very busy. But I will check it after this stream today, though. According to the state police that investigated the murder of Ken McElroy, what type of firearm was used to kill him? The correct answer is C as in cat, a hunting rifle. A hunting rifle was used to kill Ken McElroy in broad daylight. Again, with close to somewhere between 39 people witnessed the murder of this man, and whoever did it with a long rifle in broad daylight in the middle of town. And yet nobody wants to talk to the police and help them. There's something seriously wrong with an individual when all those people see it happen. And it wasn't like, bang, bang, you can put the thing away and hide it. And then other people just, I heard the sound. You had to have seen someone with a rifle, in town in that proximity. But they didn't see anything, and they didn't want to hear anything. They didn't know anything. All right, question number 6. Who was with Ken McElroy in his truck at the time of his murder? Was it A, his best friend Samuel, B, his drug dealer Craig, C, his wife Trina, D, his son, little bully, or E, other? Who was in the truck with him at the time of his murder? Oh, it was funny lemon pie. And yes, Darlie wrote here, she says that she wanted to celebrate the birthday of her son. So she went to the graveyard and shot silly string all over the grave, all over the temporary marker, the grave, and threw herself a little party and laughed and had fun at the cemetery. Darlie wrote here, who, by the way, was just recently denied parole after 30 years in prison. She was denied parole. She is exactly where she belongs. She killed her boys. I've never seen anything, any kind of evidence that ever pointed in another direction conclusively when it came to the Rotier murders. All right, question number 6. Who was in the truck with Ken McElroy when he was shot and killed? The correct answer is C, as in cat. His wife, Trina, was in the passenger seat of the truck. Another witness to the actual murder who saw nothing. His wife, Trina. All right. Did you know Ken McElroy was alleged to have committed all of these crimes in his lifetime, but was never arrested or charged with any of them? Assault and battery, rape, theft, arson, statutory rape, theft from the railroad, check fraud, public intoxication. He was arrested, however, for other crimes, but he was not arrested for any of those. A little background on Ken McElroy. He had a total of 6 different relationships with underage girls, and he used bullying tactics and intimidation to get away with it whenever anybody else found out about it. And he may have used the same tactics to get these girls to go along with the relationships. But underage girls, Ken McElroy was not a very nice guy. Oh, you're right, Smith. You're right, Susan Smith. But all right, question number 7. What unusual aspect of McElroy's murder is widely known even today in 2024? Was it A, no one was ever charged? B, his wife refused to help investigation? C, his friends all moved the next day? D, no one in town will talk about it? Or E, other? What unusual aspect of the McElroy murder was what is widely known even today in 2024? Question number 7 of 20. Yeah, I sometimes get those two mixed up, Susan and Darlene, Darlene, however she wants to. She's written a lot of letters from prison, begging for another chance at life. I don't know. I'm pretty sure there's pen pals out there for Susan Smith as well. But Darlie, she's called herself like 3 different names since she's been in prison. Darlie, Darlene. Those are the two most common. No one could find his van down by the river. Da da da. The dog is a suspect. Yeah, this man, he had a lot of dogs. At the time of Ken McElroy's murder, I was reading about his dogs. He actually bred basset hounds. At the time, he was actually murdered. He had 6 dogs that were all for breeding purposes, hound dogs and basset hounds. He not at the same time, but he bred the 2 different dogs at different times. But at the time that he actually was murdered, he had basset hounds. Kitiku, good evening. Oh, it's all right. You're more on time than those who are not here yet. I'm glad you could be here with us, Kitiku. No one saw a thing. There's a documentary series on it. I think there's a book by that or close to that title as well. Cement shoes. I ran across at least a book that it was something like that. Or no, wait. The one that I was reading excerpts of is called In Plain Sight or Midday Plain Sight or something like that. I stumbled across it, a PDF that someone had downloaded of like the first chapter of it. They'd done scans of the book, and when I was doing the research for this, kind of interesting. It was good writing. I'll give them that much. All right. What unusual aspect of the McElroy murder was widely known even today in 2024? Question number 7 of 20. The correct answer is A as in apple, that no one was ever charged with the death of Ken McElroy. There was never a primary suspect that was developed. There was never anyone charged with the crime. Everyone in town was kind of like, I don't know. I didn't see anything. He's dead? Oh, no. Yeah. No one was ever charged with it. And even to this day, even though they have tourists that come to Skidmore, Missouri, to this day and want to take pictures and stand where the murder took place. There are people who do this. It's actually on a murder tour, or at least it was. And the town folks just were like, yeah, he lived here. He was an asshole. But they don't want to talk about it even to this day. But there's a lot of people who still live in Skidmore, Missouri, that are related to Ken McElroy. All right, question number 8. With the use of DNA, how many children have been confirmed to be those of Ken McElroy? Was it A, 23, B, 31, C, 144,000, D, 10, or E, other? With the use of DNA, how many children have been confirmed to be those of Ken McElroy? So obviously, with the use of DNA, we are looking at the number for biological children, not children that he married into, or the significant other may have had children from another relationship. They would not be his by DNA. Question number 8 of 20. I got a lot of D's. Lots of D's. The Brady Bunch. Do-do-do-do. The Brady Bunch. Do-do-do-do. That's how we all became the Brady Bunch. Dun, dun, dun. Why was Alice never, considered a member of the family? She damn near raised those kids just as much as mom and dad. And what about the butcher? Right? That was Alice's love interest. I mean, I don't know. Just me, right? A lot of his children are interviewed in one. No one saw a thing. Mm. Question number 8 of 20. The correct answer is D, as in dog. All right, there are a total of what they believe 30 children that are of the descendants of Ken McElroy, but not all of them have agreed to take DNA testing or do familial DNA testing. Someone else in their family does it, like maybe they at this point they're all grown, and then have one of their children take a 23andMe to see if they're connected that way. They either have done those DNA tests privately and they don't wish to share the information, or they have not taken the test at all. But 10 have been absolutely confirmed to be the descendants of Ken McElroy. 10. But again, they do believe that there may be as close to 30 children of his from that area at that time when he died that there might have been around. I mean, obviously, people die and move away. Some don't have children. They may not be around at all anymore, but you can't exhume people just because you're curious of like, hey, man, were you one of the people who had the DNA of this dead man? But all right, question number 9. What legal tactic did Ken McElroy frequently use to avoid arrest and convictions? Was it A, he hired other bullies? B, he hired the best lawyers in the state? C, he paid off the law and judges? Or D, he hired Pauly Shore? Or E, other? What legal tactic did Ken McElroy frequently use to avoid arrest and convictions? And good evening, Purple, and welcome to tonight's trivia. I hope you had a pleasant holiday, Purple. Glad to see you. Question number 9 of 20. He hired a sober John Pryor. Who is the wackanut that Lori Vallow had at first? I can picture him. What was his name? He filed all kinds of weird, bizarre briefings in the case after she was first arrested. He lied like a rug on the floor. Very quiet, no one. Thank you. Thank you, Cement Shoes. No one saw a thing. Mark Evans? Mark Means. Mark Means. You're right. Thank you, Cement Shoes. Mark Means. The wacky, crazy stuff that Mark Means did. All right, question number 9. What legal tactic did Ken McElroy frequently use to avoid arrest and convictions? The correct answer is B as in boy. He hired the best attorneys in the state. I'll give you two examples that I have written down here. One, the law enforcement was looking for him to question him about a series of thefts and break-ins at a local warehouse. When he found out that law enforcement was looking for him, he had hired an attorney from the state capitol to come to Skidmore, Missouri, and interrupt the process for him and find out why law enforcement wanted to talk to him. And he got them to basically back off using an attorney, the long arm of the law for him. And they didn't ever bring him in for questioning, nor did they ever arrest him. And it wasn't until years later that he actually, while sitting in the local bar drinking with his friends, admitted to the actual bartender that he was, in fact, the individual who had broken into that local warehouse and had committed the thefts. But he used an attorney to intimidate law enforcement. And they're like, well, we can't go up against this guy. He's going to do this. And that's what he always got away with, was intimidation. He either intimidated people himself or he had other people do it on his behalf. But when it came to avoiding arrests and convictions, he hired the best. He knew, like, if you're going to be a complete asshole to people, you're going to need the best legal, team behind you. So he always paid up for it, though. He always made sure he kept those people on retainers. Excuse me. All right. Question number 10. What was the town and most other surrounding towns and cities' reaction to law enforcement not stopping Ken McElroy's actions? Was it fear and they just moved away? B, they hired guns, hired guns, as in the term, as like you hire someone who is someone just like him, or they vigilante justice, or D, they called Barry Morphew, or E, other. What was the town and most other surrounding towns and cities' reaction to law enforcement not stopping Ken McElroy's actions? What was their decision? What did they do? Did they move away? Did they hire guns? Did vigilante justice? Call Barry Morphew? Or other? And good evening, Karen. I'm glad you could be here tonight with us, Karen. And Juicy Jules. Good evening, Juicy Jules. I hope you both had a wonderful holiday. Lemon Pie says they hired the A-Team. And B.A. Baracus. The A-Team. What was that guy's name? Maddock? Wasn't it Maddock? I remember B.A. Baracus, Mr. T. I think it was drawing a blank on the names of the members of the A-Team. I'm sure somebody in the comment section knows. They blamed the mountain lion. Mr. T was one of your 80s favorites. Did you ever eat Mr. T's cereal? I did. I remember when I actually convinced it wasn't my mom. I convinced my dad to buy it at the local, I think it was like a Red Apple or an IGA grocery store, where we saw it on the shelf. Mr. T's cereal. Cold cereal. That's what it was. Mr. T's. I pity the fool. Don't forget, Mr. T fought Rocky. Didn't he? Oh man. Well, he fought Apollo Creed, fought the Russian. Apollo Creed was first. He fought the Russian later on. Was when the Mr. T like the second one? It's weird how the memory works. B.A. Baracus. I vaguely remember the A-Team lunchbox, but I don't remember the cereal. All right. Well, anyways, question number 10. The correct answer is C as in cat. They resorted to vigilante justice. When law enforcement couldn't stop Ken McElroy, the town just said, "Look, we've had enough," and they vigilante justice is what finally fixed their problem for them. History you should know. You're going to see this a lot more. I threw these in there tonight, a couple of these things, just so you can get used to them. You're going to see this after the new year, next week, right? But H. Holmes was not the first American serial killer. Although if you type into any search engine right now and you say who was the first American serial killer, you're going to find countless articles that are going to say that H. Holmes was the first American serial killer. He wasn't. Two examples of people who were serial killers before H. Holmes was even born was Madame LaLaurie from the New Orleans area, and the Harper brothers were both serial killers and killing long before H. Holmes was ever born, or AKA Mr. Mudgett. He was born Mr. Mudgett, but he took on the name H. Holmes after, it got too hot for him to be, Mr. Mudgett anymore. But it'll look like you'll see the history you should know. And then below the line, it's going to be something like this. Obviously, it's going to look different on the page, but it'll be history you should know. And it's going to be, I'm going to make it so it's closer resembling to actual subject matter that we're actually doing. But again, I said, I'm just kind of throwing this out there. And the next one you're going to see, I'll show you, is going to be something else that is going to be in the new year on trivia. But right now, it is time for our break. For 6 minutes, if you're new here or we're just watching, we take a break of 6 minutes after we do the first 10 questions. Do what you need to do for the next 6 minutes. Smoke a bowl, eat a handful of edibles, make yourself a sandwich, make yourself a three-fingered, drink. And I don't care. You do you for the next 6 minutes. We are at the 44-minute and 36-second mark. We will be back at 50 and 36 seconds. Isn't she the one that tortured and killed her slaves? LaLaurie? Yes. She's the one that killed and tortured her slaves. The brothers were called the servant killers, and they did pretty much the same thing as well. But they also killed other people that were of the same race. So it wasn't just like, oh, you know what, the slaves, they're dispatchable. You can kill as many as you want. Grab yourself a beer, right? Edibles? What's that mean? Just kidding. I hope everyone had a A Wonderful Christmas? I did. I most certainly did. And so I hope you did as well, Mel. Some interesting suggestions, Will. Thank you. Get a piece of pie, pancakes, smokes, drinks, tea, whatever you want. You do you. You have approximately 4 minutes and 20 seconds left. My daughter's son's out to see me eats with her in-laws. In-laws, outlaws. I had a pretty relaxing, Christmas. We ended up with 27 people here for Christmas dinner. We had 5 that were confirmed that were going to take food to work, but we ended up doing 9 total to-go meals for people who had to work. One of the people who was coming to pick up a meal asked if there was any way we could do a couple extras, and I buy like those to go. They're like plastic Tupperware. They're really cheap. You buy them at your grocery store on the shelf, like storage containers. I buy like a 4-pack of those. So I bought like 3 or 4 of those packages of 4. So I had plenty of these containers, and we put ham, potatoes, dressing in one, and then the next one would be just vegetables and dip, and then the third one would just be dessert. And the whipped cream, we make our own whipped cream, so it doesn't really travel that well. So we don't put whipped cream in there. We'll put it in another container if they want to take a container of it. So, but you got to keep it refrigerated, otherwise, as it sits, it kind of like from the heat. I'd like a steak and lobster if only I had some. Wouldn't that be good? No, they're not all family and friends, Juicy Jules. Some of the people who are here, we've known for I don't know 6 months. They're just people that of the 27, I would say that 15 or 16 of them were family. The rest of them are people who we know from either our nonprofit, not our nonprofit, but from working with a nonprofit. And they just can't afford to make their own holiday meals because they are all alone, or maybe they're widowed recently. But we help other people out, and we give them some place to go and hang out, so they're not alone. I mean, it's the least we can do is open our doors to somebody else. If we have the ability and the space, why not do it? Is the way that we look at it. Your youngest wants crab. Ooh, I can't get crabs around here. I can get well, for like seafood stuff, we can get all kinds of fish. We're a long ways from the ocean, but there's a local cantina that's near us that always has oysters, and but they never have crab. Every once in a while, they'll have octopus and some others, delicacies like that, calamari and stuff. All right, you got 20 seconds left. 20 seconds until break time is over with. 13 seconds. And we're back. This is a placeholder that I put here because starting next week, where this page is, I'm going to have either book reviews or suggestions on books in the crime field. Either some of them will be new, some of them will be old, but all of them will have an affiliate link that I have started with Amazon. I get, if you buy a book, and just I'll give you an example. If you spend $7 on a book, I get 3 cents. That's it. But they're affiliate links, and it just all it does is if you click on the link and you buy the book, I get 3 cents. The seller gets the rest of it, but I get a little portion off of the back end of every one of the people who click on the links and buy it. But starting next weekend, there will no longer be any corrections and stuff section of Trivia Night. I am going to be dealing with that in a completely different area and different time. It will no longer be part of Trivia Night. This is something that is new that will be every week in Trivia Night. You do not have to answer this question now. I'm giving to you as an example. Tomorrow, Monday, in the community tab on YouTube, this question will be there tomorrow. Again, you do not have to answer it now. It will be in the community tab tomorrow. Do you believe that true crime content is harmful to the well-being of society? It will be the question. Yes, no, maybe, or no opinion. Again, but you will see this question. So on Sunday, you'll see it a day before it is released on the community tab. So think of it as everybody gets a sneak peek into what the next question on the community tab will be, next poll. All right, we are back to our actual normal programming with all those previous over with. Thank you for putting up with that. Question number 11 of 20 is now on your screen. What was the first thing Ken McElroy did after being convicted of attempted murder of Bo Bowenkamp? Was it A, he went to and had a beer about it? B, he laughed openly in court? C, he posted bond and went home? D, he posted bond and filed an appeal? Or E, other? What was the first thing that Ken McElroy did after being convicted of attempted murder of Bo Bowenkamp? He fantasized about RuPaul. Lemon pie. he fantasized about RuPaul. Mel's going with B, C, and D. Purple's going with B, Lieutenant RN, D. Inner P's, Jersey Shore, binge watching. What was the first thing he did? How many did he unalive? Ken McElroy? None that I know of. Of all the alleged crimes that Ken McElroy had done in his lifetime, I never came across doing the research of this of anyone he actually took the life of. Rape, statutory rape, aggravated assault, attempted murder, of Bo Bowenkamp. He tried, but I didn't find anything about it where he actually committed murder. One of his associates definitely did. Killed a man over a drug deal. His friend Craig. Cement Shoes says he didn't murder anyone. Well, I know I didn't think he did. I didn't run across anything about Ken McElroy killing anybody, but like I said, his friend Craig definitely did. Craig was also a drug dealer, and a low life, piece of um, a cyst on society. Not for the lack of trying, though. That is true. Cement shoes. Not for the lack of trying. All right. Question number 11. What did it was the first thing he did after being convicted of murder? The correct answer is D as in dog. He posted bond when the jury and the attempted murder trial. He sat there nice and quietly and respectfully in court with his high paid attorney, and then they walked out of court into the back towards the actual jail itself. They went in. His attorney filed the he did the bond paperwork, posted the actual cash bond that he was appealing it. His attorney then went back across to the little ways to the courthouse, filed the paperwork for the appeal while they processed him, fingerprinted him, did his photo and all that stuff. So that way he would be ready to be taken out of the jail as soon as he got back with he posted the appeal, and then he walked out. The attorney went to his car, and Ken McElroy went to his truck the same day he was convicted, in and back out. And that's when the vigilante mob showed up. Question number 12. Where in Skidmore did the murder of Ken McElroy take place? Was it A, rural road outside of town? B, middle of the day outside of the mini mart? C, at his brother-in-law's home? D, in the middle of the day outside the D&G bar? Or E, other? Where in Skidmore did the murder of Ken McElroy take place? Assist on society. That is absolutely right. I didn't know you could get out of jail once you've been convicted and awaiting appeal. They had already planned on it. To him and his attorney. All his attorney had to do was just bring the paperwork in, file it, get it stamped, get the paper that said that he could be bonded out, and that they had it all ready. It was already planned. Well, we're going to find out more about that in a little bit here. A lot more about the entire situation. At the pet cemetery, says some interpees. Was it Stephen King's Pet Cemetery? The cat comes back. All right, question number 12. The correct answer is D, as in dog. In the middle of the day outside of the D&G bar. The D&G bar used to be situated just next to the courthouse and jail. The D&G bar is where he was shot and killed. Question number 13. What was the reason so many people refused to help the investigation into the murder of Ken McElroy? Was it A, fear of retaliation? B, they just didn't want to? C, it might have been a cop that did it? D, the killer was Bo Bowenkamp? Or E, other? What was the reason so many people refused to help the investigation into the murder of Ken McElroy? Chad Daybell's Pet Cemetery. What if they ever found any remains of raccoons in that fire pit? because we know what they did find in that fire pit and what they found next to it underneath the plywood, wrapped in plastic and duct tape. May God rest their souls. The final season of The Bachelor was on, and they couldn't be bothered. Question number 13 of 20. All right. The answer to question number 13 of 20 is B as in boy. They just didn't want to. Later on, as the police investigated the crime, the murder of Ken McElroy, and they went around town and started asking questions to people who were possibly there outside of the courthouse that they had seen earlier. Did you witness anything? People were like, no, I went straight home after my court hearing that day. I wasn't anywhere around. But hey, they got the same answer from just about everyone in the community. Even his wife, again, who was sitting in the passenger seat of the truck. Who did you see outside of the truck? I don't know. I didn't recognize any of the faces, she said, and would not help with the investigation and the murder of her own husband. That's just how loved he was. Skidmore, Missouri wasn't the only town in Missouri that feared Ken McElroy or even his drinking buddies. Residents of Maryville, Missouri, and St. Joseph were also fearful of Ken McElroy and his friends. Again, he had a group of people that were like-minded, just like him. But Ken McElroy was kind of like the leader of the group of misfits. He was just a person that was, there and kind of looked like he was like in charge of the group, and other people did his bidding for him. Question number 14. What legal action did Trina McElroy take after her husband was gunned down in the middle of the day? Was it A, she remarried days later? B, she filed a wrongful death claim? C, she sued Bo Bowenkamp? Or D, she sued the state? Or E, other? What legal action did Trina McElroy take after her husband was gunned down in the middle of the day? Question number 14 of 20. She went to traffic court. Kid going, B? Question mark? I don't know. It could be B. I don't know. But I'm guessing B. Maybe. You can't hold me to that. Lieutenant RN going with B as well. Sal. Purple, A, B, C, and D. I think Purple's got the answer. I think she knows what's going on here. All right. Question number 14 of 20. The correct answer is B as in boy. She filed a wrongful death suit against the local authorities would say. We'll find out in a second here. Question number 15. What was the outcome of Trina McElroy's wrongful death suit against the town and the police department? Was it A, she was awarded $17,600? B, she lost the claim? C, she got the entire town? Or D, she got 2 signed copies of Chad Daybell's books? Or E, other? What was the outcome of Trina McElroy's wrongful death suit against the town and the police department? She sued the mountain lion. Funny inner piece. Kitty Coop is now going with A, question mark. It might be, I'm not sure. A? She got her driver's license back. Lemon Pie says she received a Pizza Hut coupon. A, to cover funeral costs. What was the outcome of Trina McElroy's wrongful death suit against the town and the police department? Ladies and gentlemen, the correct answer is A, as in apple. She received $17,600. And no, she didn't use that money, not a bit of it, to bury her husband. The $17,600 came much, much later after the wrongful death suit was, finalized against the city and the police department. And how did they end up having to pay her anything at all? This is the same woman who would not help their investigation into why who actually committed the murder of her husband. She received it because again, you thought it was weird that they were able to bond him out immediately after conviction. Well, there's a couple of steps that the city and the local jurisdiction kind of skipped in this case. One, the paperwork for the appeal needed to be filed with the state secretary's office. Just going to the courthouse and filing the notice of appeal is not enough to satisfy the state law on your filing an appeal so you can be bonded out. It must be registered with the state, not just the city. But they skipped that part. The second part of that is the police department knew a vigilante mob was waiting outside of the courthouse. So when Ken actually was convicted of the attempted murder of Bo Bowenkamp and was released from the actual jail itself, they basically sent him out to a mob that was already there, and they didn't do anything to protect him. So the city and the police department settled up and said, we'll give you $17,600 if you just go the hell away. And she took it. That's what she got. Now, of the $17,600, according to what I read online, she owed about $3,000 of that to legal fees for herself and to the attorney who had gotten him actually out of jail that day because he hadn't obviously paid the last portion of his legal bill. So about $3,000 of it got eaten up in that. So she got about $14,600 total. And again, not a dime of that money went to go bury him. He was buried, with death benefits from other things and donations from his friends or his family. They're the ones who paid to actually bury him and get the stupid little brass placard that has his name on it even to this day. All right. See, question number 16. What book in document was what book documented the murder of Ken McElroy? Was it A, Sinners and Saints, B, Evil Walks Next to Me, C, Sinners of Skidmore, D, In Broad Daylight, or E, Other? What book documented the murder of Ken McElroy? I don't have any sympathy for him at all, Lemon Pie. I have none. He was a real piece. I'm just surprised that he lived as long as he did. I really am. And that it took all that time. Even if you set aside the attempted murder of the grocer, you put that aside, there were plenty of times that people in that town were absolutely just tired of him. They didn't want him around anymore. They had done everything. They'd gone to the police. They did everything legally they were supposed to do, and nothing seemed to ever stop him. He just kept on going and going and going and pushing the envelope farther and farther. And every time they're like, this has got to be it. He's got to go to jail for this. Someone's got to stand up. No, the witnesses would disappear. People would drop the charges. He'd take a plea bargain that basically, he'd have to pay a fine. And it just kept on going and building the resentment within the communities, not just Skidmore, but in other cities around there. St. Joseph's, Marysville. The resentment for this man was so large. And the day that he was convicted and they saw him walk back out of the jail, it added up to the communities around. I'm surprised that only one person shot and killed him and that people didn't stomp on him after that. I really am. Because so many people had built up such a resentment for this man. And by that point, it was unbelievable. And then they just said, yeah, there you go. See you later. They let him right back out of the jail with no protection at all, knowing that there was a mob out there. The police had to have known. They're gonna take care of this. They're gonna take care of this problem because it looked like he was getting away with it again, and like he had done so many times. If I had to pull the same shit in Chicago, he'd have been dead before midnight, right? Or a lot of other places. A lot of other places. All right, question number 16. I kind of veered off there. What is the name of the book that documented the case, the killing of Ken McElroy? The correct answer is D as in dog, In Broad Daylight. Is one of the many books that documented the actual case of the murder of Ken McElroy. The entire time, Ken McElroy was terrorizing his community, drinking like a fish out of water. He never paid a dime in child support for any of his kids. He also hardly ever visited them. Some he had never seen after the day they were born. That is a true fact. These mothers and their families lived in the community. He fathered children with them. He saw them the day that they were born, and he never went back. He was gone, moved on to the next one. Over and over again. He didn't care. If the courts would have came to him and said, you need to pay child support, he would have laughed in their faces. And he would have gotten away with it too. Because people were afraid of him. He intimidated them. And he got to do whatever he wanted for so long. And I feel bad for those children, think about it. He barely ever visited the ones he knew were his. And other ones, he saw them the day that they were born. No wonder why they don't want to have DNA tests and be connected to this man forever. Question number 17 of 20. What crime was Ken McElroy accused of committing over 3 dozen times, but had but never charged with or convicted of? Was it A, DUI, B, selling drugs, C, assault with a weapon, D, homicide, or E, other? What crime was Ken McElroy accused of committing over 3 dozen times but never charged or convicted of? This man really knew how to throw his weight around. He knew enough about the legal system to be able to use it to his advantage. But this is question number 17 of 20. Loitering. Mattress tag terror. I hit the wrong button. C, says Cement Shoes. Mel Stiller, I'm going with A plus C. Sal's going with A. Lemon Pie, B. Juicy Jules is going with C. Question number 17 of 20. Lieutenant RN's going with C as well. Hooking up with Snooki. I don't know why anybody would want to do that. I mean, he was a disgusting individual, but geez, yeah, I mean, I hope he had enough self-respect to not want to do that. All right, the correct answer to question number 17 is C, as in cat. The local police department had taken over 3 dozen complaints of assault and battery with a weapon. It was a little billy club, approximately 16 inches in length, that Ken always had with him. He kept one, and even the day he was murdered, it was found on the seat of the truck. Anybody got in his way, he got angry with them. He would intimidate them with this little billy club. And 3 dozen times complaints had come in that he had intimidated or assaulted someone. It's assaulted them with it, not intimidated, but assaulted them with an act, that little billy club. And over again, the witnesses refused to, cooperate with police, or they asked to have the charges dropped, or they disappeared, or something happened where they never had enough evidence to actually go arrest him and convict him of it. Over and over again. But everybody in town knew it. Yet nobody did anything about it. Now, you have to remember, this is before the laws have changed a lot since then. Now, if the witnesses doesn't, testify, and the DA still has enough probable evidence, you can still arrest them. But not back then. Question number 18. What happened to Ken McElroy's friend after he was murdered in broad daylight and no one came forward? What happened to his friends? These are the drinking buddies, his pals who were with him a lot. Was it A, they themselves were murdered? B, they were all arrested? B, they went on a book tour? Or D, they moved away? Or E, other? What happened to Ken McElroy's friends after he was murdered? It was a bully club, right? Dun, dun. Good one, Callie Lisa. Kitty Q is back with a D question mark. Question number 18 of 20. They had a white elephant gift exchange. My wife had one of those with her at her work Christmas party. They went and searched for the mountain lion. White elephant gift exchange. My wife, her gift that she brought to the her union, not her company, her union Christmas party. She had socks made with her face on it on the socks. They're like, I don't know if they print them on the socks or they embroider them in, but they were her face on the socks. She ended up with a platter, like a platter you put like a roast on. They got a ride out of town in a mysterious Yugo. All right, question number 18. The correct answer is D, as in dog. They all moved away. They saw the writing on the wall. If someone's going to kill him and no one's going to step forward, no one's going to help the police, they're probably not going to help them if they murder me next. So they all just kind of faded away, got the hell out of town. Did not stick around very long afterwards, I might add. I saw some accounts that most of them moved away within the next couple of weeks to a month afterwards, but they all left. They're like, we're out of here. Bye-bye. Question number 19. Skidmore, Missouri has never been the same place since the murder of Ken McElroy took place. How do people describe it nowadays? People who live in Skidmore, Missouri, how do they describe it? Do they describe it as economically depressed but safe? B, fearful place to live? C, a great place to live? D, a nice community and parks? Or E, other? Skidmore, Missouri has never been the same place since the murder of Ken McElroy took place. How do people describe it nowadays? We're looking for an answer on how people describe it who live there today in 2024. The Jersey Shore of Missouri. I wonder if they have like a lot of TikTokers there and like, high school students doing, bite dance like challenges and stuff. I wonder if there's a way to find statistics on stuff like that. The next Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley doesn't even want to be Silicon Valley anymore. I just saw a thing about, people who lived in Silicon Valley. They're all moving to Colorado, of all places. As companies slowly move away and relocate for better tax purposes. Some of them are moving to Texas, and others are moving to Colorado. But a lot of like other tech companies are starting up in the Silicon Valley area, especially electric car companies are headquartering there. The Disneyland of Missouri. Question number 19 of 20. The correct answer is B, as in boy. They say that Skidmore, Missouri is still a fearful place to live, but otherwise a nice place. Fearful. because they don't know who is out there. If someone is willing to commit murder and they've never been brought to justice, that that's always played over and over again, even after all these years. That is there someone that's it's the police department? Are they corrupt? They look at them still. Are the judges paid off? Who else is connected to this? Someone has to. A lot of conspiracy theories have totally swirled in Skidmore around the murder and the investigation into the death of Ken McElroy. How much did the police really want to investigate it? Did they want to find the murderer? Is it because they believe that it's either Bo Bonekamp or it was another law enforcement officer or someone else connected and they just didn't want to prosecute or go after that person? And if so, what other crimes has this person gotten away with or will get away with after that? So they say that even to this day, people still are a little bit fearful of what's out there, within their community. If something like this can happen in broad daylight and that many people can witness it and nobody wanted to step forward and help. Did you know during the 5 years prior to his murder, the Skidmore Police Department took no less than 24 complaints of intimidation of a witness tampering against Ken McElroy or his friends, yet the police did almost nothing about them. Another reason for people to still be fearful in the Skidmore, Missouri area. Question number 20 of 20. In the case of the murder of Ken McElroy, even open nowadays to be solved, according to current chief of police, the case is still open. Is the case still open? A, no, it's long since closed. B, yes, it's open, but killer is dead. C, it's open, but no one cares. D, they know Karen Reed did it. Or E, other. Is the case of the murder of Ken McElroy even open nowadays to be solved, according to the current chief of police? Skid mark. Question number 20 of 20. No question mark. Kitty Coo's going just straight C. Oh my gosh. What are we going to do? No question mark. Huh. Question number 20 of 20. Is the case in the murder of Ken McElroy open today to be solved? They know his pet dog fired that rifle. Now Stiller's going with B, question mark. We got one question mark after an answer. All right, question number 20 of 20. The correct answer is C, as in cat. It is open, but no one cares. According to the chief of police, he was actually the deputy chief of police. He is now the chief of police. He said that the case is open, but they have not developed any fresh leads in a long time. But the case is open to be investigated and to be possibly solved someday. But at this point, with the total lack of witnesses, that want to help the law enforcement or do anything about it, they don't think the chances are very good that it ever will be solved. here's an additional double banger of facts on this case. Skidmore, Missouri is still home to 24 people that are descendants of the family of Ken McElroy as of 2020. B, number 2, the truck Ken McElroy was gunned down in was sold by a family member to a collector who eventually lost it to a tornado in 2023. It was crushed by a tree, and it also was damaged by other debris that flew into and damaged the truck even more. It was eventually crushed even more and then scrapped. However, there are 3 replicas of the truck in museums. At the Murder Memorabilia Crime Memorabilia Museum at Alcatraz, they have an exact replica of the truck, obviously without the smashed out, shot out windows of the truck. And there's another one in Texas. I do not know where the third one is. I wasn't able to find the answer to where the third one is. But the original truck that Ken McElroy was gunned down in has been crushed and is long gone. It's probably been turned into pop cans or beer cans by now or something else. But it was sold off to a collector and then lost for good. So you'll never see anybody driving around in the exact truck. All right, how did you do? This is completely optional. You do not have to give yourself a letter grade. We are only here for fun and for entertainment purposes. But some people like to give themselves a letter grade on and keep track of how many they got right and how many they got wrong. Did you get an A, a B, a C, or a D? Again, this is completely optional. We are only here for fun and entertainment. There is no cases of endangered cases tonight for those who are missing and endangered. I am in communication with the 2 of the groups that I've been working with about possibly featuring, instead of just putting them on trivia night, making shorts videos of or longer form videos with that information. But the current agreement that I have in place with 2 of these groups does not allow me to redistribute the likeness and the information about the cases. Again, I could do it with just the public information, but that's kind of not the spirit of the agreement that I have in place now. So there is no cases of missing and endangered tonight. They will be back next week, but just not tonight. I wanted to give these people and these nonprofits the opportunity to either agree to me, using the content in another way, another format besides just doing them here on Trivia Night. I'm not saying that it's going to be something that I do a long term. I just want, or even immediately, I just want to have the ability to possibly spread the message even more with another format besides just doing it here on Trivia Night. And that's the agreement I have in place right now. All right. Now, nominate Bella Guinness, Cement Shoes. I'm almost 100% positive you already have that on here, but got my little black book. Well, let's check. Go to the Cement Shoes page. All right. Ezra McCandles, O.J. Simpson, Jack Underweger. Yep. You have Bella on here. It's on page 4. I got it down here, Cement Shoes. Thank you. All right. So before you all take off, I want to tell you about something else about Ken McElroy and the intimidation that he put forth against Bo Bowenkamp. the grocer that he was eventually convicted of trying to kill. Okay? After the actual assault of the grocer himself, while he was in the hospital recovering from his actual wounds itself, and they released him back to his home. For every day after he was released back home, Ken McElroy would sit just outside of the barrier, the distance that he needed to stay away from his actual residency. He would sit there in his truck with a shotgun in plain sight on the dashboard of the truck and another rifle with his hand on the barrel. Every single day, he would sit there across from this man's house so he could see him with the shotgun and the other rifle in his hand. This is how far this man went to intimidate the man who he actually tried to kill. And this kind of gives you an idea of just how the intimidation factor in this guy and how he got away with it. He was supposed to stay 1,000 feet away from this man's residency, and that was from the front door out to the street and then across the street and then maybe like 2 car lengths down. But he sat there in plain view so this man could see him through his big picture window in the front of his house. So as this man is trying to recover from his injuries and he's just gotten out of the hospital, he looks out his picture window and there is Ken McElroy in his truck with a shotgun that you can clearly see through the window on the dashboard of his truck, and the man sitting there chain smoking cigarettes with his hand on another rifle. If Bowenkamp is not the person who actually shot and killed Ken McElroy, it has to be connected. Now imagine that. This man already tried to kill you. That is an absolute guarantee, and it's been proven in a court of law. And immediately, right after that, moments later, after the verdict comes down and the gavel hits the bench, you see that man walking out of the jail. If it wasn't again Bowenkamp who committed the actual murder, it had to be somebody else who was connected to it or absolutely could not take any more of what was going on in this community. Watching the men just like a revolving door, get arrested, come back out, get arrested, come back out, and no consequences to his actions at all. The community was just absolutely here with it all. But I truly believe after the 3 months that I've been working on this, and I'm truly sorry for everyone. There are 8 of you who suggested this case, but it took forever. I mean, you got 30 plus people who were witnesses to it. You think somebody would have wanted to talk about it. Even today, reaching out to the Gazette, which is the local newspaper, there are people who work for the newspaper who don't even want to talk about it. I reached out to all of the investigative journalists and journalists who work for the newspaper, and they don't even want to talk about it. It's no, we're sorry. How about you want to talk about something else? Let's talk about something else. But they don't even want to talk about it. It's like the case happened, and everybody knows about it, and they're fearful of it, and who might be connected to it from out there, but nobody wants to talk about it, even today in 2024. But that's the type of intimidation that this man would put forth towards anybody. No wonder why so many of the cases and charges that were filed against this man got tossed, and he got away with it. But on top of that, he hired the best attorneys, like I told you, and we went over in this, to get himself out of these jams every time he got hooked up. So, again, sorry that it took so long to do this one. I mean, this entire trivia night by far took more time to investigate, and prove the facts around. I've never put 3 months into any trivia night. Most of them, I mean, I do a little bit here, a little bit there, but a couple questions. Because I'm working on 3 or 4 of them at a time, and I might have. The longest they've ever been is maybe a month and a half, where until I'm done with it, and then I do that as a trivia night, and then I start another one. So as I finish one, I've got another one, coming on the back side of it. So I always have 3 or 4 of them that I'm working on, but never 3 months. Royal French Army 1400s serial killer, obsessed sicko. I look at it this way: when it comes to Ken McElroy, he got away with this behavior for so long. It started off a long time before he became the adult, and the giant man that he was, throwing his weight around. As a juvenile, he got away with it. And then into early adulthood, and then years before he got actually murdered. He got away with it. There was no consequences, and he knew, and it had been around for so long, he knew what he was doing. He knew how far he could push the envelope and what he could do. When it came to hey, I'm not within 1,000 feet of your home. I'm 1,012 feet, and he made damn sure of that, because the bone camps would call the police, and they'd come, and they'd be like, nope, he's outside of the barrier, and they would measure it. There's nothing they can do about it. But can you imagine looking out your picture window and you see that truck out there with that man with two shotgun and a rifle? I mean, if that was me and I was Mr. Bone Camp, I mean, how much can you take? The man already tried to kill you. Thank you, Kitty Q. Thank you, Mel. And Gone Girl. Thank you, Gone Girl. I hope you had a Merry Christmas, Gone Girl. I hope everyone did. I hope you all had a happy holidays, and I hope you all have a safe and happy New Year's. If you don't go out and and get together with friends, I hope you at least stay home, watch a good movie, or something. Do something, even if it's just yourself. If you're all by yourself, treat yourself to something. It's like hey, it's a new year. I made it another year. Gift. Next time you're at the supermarket and you're picking up things, you're like, yeah, you know what? It's been a while since I've had tapioca pudding, and they got fresh tapioca here. Even if it's something as simple as that, $3.60 for a little thing of tapioca. Treat yourself to something, or maybe make the tapioca pudding yourself if you like tapioca. But just be safe, whatever you do, and please, for the love of God, do not get behind the wheel of a car if you've been, drinking, and don't get behind the wheel, the passenger seat of a car if the other person who's driving has been drinking. I want you all to have a safe and happy New Year if you go out and do anything. Me, my wife, we're going to go to dinner earlier in the evening and get home well before dark, because that's what we do. We have no desire to be out there on the roads with anyone, who may have been consuming, alcohol. Same thing, same reason when it comes to like the Super Bowl, stuff like that. We don't go out, on those days, because we know there are idiots out there who just don't get it. I mean, Uber costs you $30. A DUI will cost you $3,000. But you don't think people understand? They still don't get it. They don't get it. They're just too dumb. No. You went to your daughter's for Christmas? Oh, that's good. You got to do something though. That's what's important, Gone Girl. Callie, Lisa, you love tapioca? I'm kind of impartial to it, but it's some of it's good, some of it's bad. It all depends on how it's made. But before I wrap this up, if you would please give this a thumbs up, I would appreciate it. For everybody, everyone out there. And if you're watching this in rewind, leave a comment down below. If you didn't like it, give it a thumbs down. Leave a comment and tell me, give me some constructive criticism on what I can do to make it better. I mean, I read through all the comments. I may not have time to reply to all the comments because, like, I get an awful lot of them. But I try to read, and respond to as many as I can. But and with that said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to wrap up tonight's trivia. I will see you after the New Year's for trivia again on I think that's like the 4th. Wednesday's the 1st. 2nd is Thursday. No, it's got to be the 5th, 6th, whatever it might be. Sunday after New Year's. How about that? But in the meantime, everyone, you have a wonderful week ahead and stay safe. Again, there will be a poll Monday morning, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on the community tab here on YouTube. So the question you saw in tonight's trivia will be the same one that'll be on YouTube. You get a sneak peek of it before everyone else. Bye. Oh, and if anybody sees Rykart online,